Are you overwhelmed? Are you anxious? Are you depressed? Are you unhappy in a current situation and yet you just keep suffering through it? Like, let's find somebody who is skilled with the tools to help you handle that so you can have mental peace, right? That's what we're really all after. Okay, if you clicked on the episode, you're definitely feeling a bit overwhelmed in your life. And this episode was originally going to be how I manage my anxiety. But what I realized is that a lot of times we don't know that what we're explaining is actually anxiety. It just feels like overwhelm. And so this episode is going to be a little bit of a journey into some stories as well as some tactical tools and really just my perspectives on managing a lot, right? And just for reference, if you're new here, hello, my name's Diane Flores. I'm an IFBB pro. I'm a bodybuilder by history and I coach women online now. And I've been doing this podcast for 4 years now, and I have met so many amazing humans, and something that comes up frequently is overwhelm, and I see anxiety and depression as well. But overwhelm shows up with a lot of things that I see, which is like why I'm always tense. I can't stop overthinking. I'm always behind. Something feels off. My brain doesn't shut off. I've got all these tabs open, right? And I think that there's a lot of that has to do with the state of the world, right? And how we're accessible so easily. But I want to share with you some things that I'm doing, some things that I've seen and noticed, and some really big changes that I've made that have brought me to more internal peace. And I think really that's what a lot of us are really hoping for, is that when you're not overwhelmed, then you'll start taking care of the things that you want to do or that you need to do, right? It's like a lot of put off happens. And then that can start more downward spiral things of just feeling frustrated and anxious because you're not actualizing certain things that you want to do. So we're going to comb through that. And really, I want to break this up into 2 podcasts. And the first is just bringing an awareness to a lot of things and seeing where maybe you resonate with them. And the first step that I want you to take, and I've talked about this in previous episodes, but we're going to link this all together now, on doing a bit of an energy audit, because at the end of the day, we are energy, right? And anxiety is a form of energy you're spending worrying about things that haven't happened yet most of the time. So we're going to get into a little bit of that as well. And then the second half of the episode, I want you to come back and listen to part 2, which will be released after this one. Will be the next episode coming. And that is going to be getting a little bit more tactical with some like physical tools that I'm using and some things that I share with my clients and I suggest that they do as well, and give you some journaling prompts at the end of it, right? You've had 2 episodes to really like chew on it. And then now it's like, this is a little baby workshop. Like now it's time to do the work, right? Now that you've thought about it, in between episodes, like what do we need to get done? So through this podcast, I am going to talk about this because this is something I battle with behind the scenes. And I'm going to take you through why I'm recording this, what I feel like anxiety is in my words, like how I would describe it, what it feels like, the realization point when I realized, okay, I need to do something to manage this anxiety because what I'm doing is actually making it worse. And sort of the shifting point. I'm going to talk to you about what doesn't work and actually masks the issues, my anxiety management tools, and really the goals for why I have these sort of set in place, and take you down the journey and invite you to think about your overwhelm and burnout and things a little bit differently so you can start to create space in your life. Now, my recent mini moment of anxiety that has popped up and I'm going to share with you, and some of you follow me on Instagram, you know, and this is just going to be kind of the span of how anxiety shows up, and it shows up in many forms. But for me, this was the moment where I'm like, okay, this is coming up. I'm doing things. I'm stepping outside my comfort zone a lot lately. I'm doing interesting things, having really great conversations. And in order to bring you guys along and for it to feel cohesive, I want to really share with you a little bit deeper, right? As far as how I untangle the yarn that is the boss bitch's brain. And part of that is doing new things that are scary, right? We have like that like fear of looking stupid and just not knowing how to do something. And so I recently signed up for more traditional style dance classes because I really would like to cultivate that part of joy and play in my life, which I'm going to be talking to you guys about a lot in, the near future. And I've already started about the importance of that. And so because I know the importance of it, I know that I also have to discuss these things, right? Like, sure, all great in theory. Yeah, Diane, you want me to go do this or do that and get in touch with like my inner child that used to love doing these certain things, but it's the actual like rubber to the road and getting it done that is stopping people, right? It's that first step. And so leading by example and just sharing with you guys, like, I fucking survived. Like, we can do this. We can do hard things, from little things to big things, because I'm going to tell you this dance class story, but there are so many other stories that are going to come out in this, give you an example. But again, showing up to a dance studio, being new, doing a new style of dance, knowing that I'm likely going to be the oldest person there, and the self-limiting belief starts coming up, right? And now for me to turn over and just kind of get past it is a lot faster than years before. And that's really my mission here, is as you listen, as you start hearing these episodes, you start doing the work, even if you start working with us or you're in our programs and stuff, it's shortening that time from you realizing that it's like holding you back and actually like getting past it, right? And self-limiting beliefs will come up and that whole thing starts. And so I'm like battling that, and I get through it and I go do the dance class. It's great. It's fine. But it comes up still for me is what I'm getting at, right? I'll share another story with you here in a little bit, just really about how anxiety shows up for me with like people pleasing, right? Because it still shows up for me. So I have a story about that as well, because I think you'll find some sort of permission slip there for you to also step into that for yourself and eliminate some of that anxiety. And it's like, it could be a spiral. It could be a spiral. So I see it in client check-ins, right? I see it stop them from taking action. I see a lot of times when they get into these loops of things, and myself personally as well, it causes like a spiraling effect. And it's interesting because the way that I think about anxiety, and I believe I heard somebody say this, I can't remember who, so I apologies, but when I was going through these periods of time in my life early on when I was depressed, right? It was a lot of like worry and anxiousness about the past and like the things that I had or hadn't done. And like, just that was depression. It just felt like an anchor. It was like pulling me down, right? Lots of heavy thoughts that weren't actually true. And also they weren't benefiting my mental health, right? And I feel like I kiddingly say, like, I exchanged depression for anxiety, because then the anxiety on the flip side of that tends to show up as a fear of like worrying about the future, right? Like, you're worrying about what that person's going to say, or if you do this, then that's going to happen. And like, oh my gosh, if I do it this way, like, you're constantly thinking about the future. And oftentimes it's like worst case scenario or stressed about whatever. And all of that just sort of lives there. And it does come a lot of times from overwhelm, right? When you've got too much on your plate and this and that, and you're trying to calculate how things are going to happen. And so it makes you anxious and overwhelmed, right? And one thing that I remind myself often is when I'm doing that, right? So like, if depression is really like ruminating and worrying about your past and things you did or didn't do correctly, and just really being in that space and feeling unworthy and all that, right? Gets really dark with depression, and you're not living in the present, right? And a lot of that I understand is chemical, and like, that's not the conversation I'm having here. But then anxiety is you're living in the future. Then the question is like, who's living right now? Who is in your body right now living in the present moment, right? Like, think about that. And that's where a lot of mindfulness comes in. And that's where like I really devoted some serious time into really understanding what kind of meditation would work for me, so I could have that space of time between being triggered by something and then having a thought about it, and then a feeling, and then having a physical reaction, then that presents as anxiety. There's a pause there. Right? There's that gap of time between when you have that thought and it can then go down one road and take you real far, or there's the other choice. And the other choice is to not entertain that thought because you're not even there yet, right? Like you don't even know. You're just already assuming you're putting all of your eggs into that basket in the future and like you haven't even got there yet. So let's be here right now. And what can I do right now? What's within my control right now to be able to put myself into an energy and a mood that is beneficial, right? Now, again, it might sound a little crazy. I'm going to talk to you about some tools and how this all sort of spawned for me and what I find that is working. Now, what anxiety sometimes feels like, okay? Avoiding things for the fear of worst case scenario. My go-to, which is mentally spiraling. You feel like you have this like stuck energy in your chest, right? That's how anxiety shows up for me. Sometimes it'll be like stomach issues, but most of the time it's stomach and then it's just like this heaviness that's on my chest and I'm distracted. And there's oftentimes some random chaos in my head. I'm not paying attention. If this resonates with you, if you have kids, like your kids are talking to you and you're like, and you're on your phone or you're doing the dishes and you're there, but you're not really there. Your mind is somewhere else. You're not actually being with them and like being part of the conversation. You do it with your partners, your coworkers, your brain is elsewhere. You're always feeling behind, right? You're always late. Oh my gosh, I'm not going to get this deadline. Oh my gosh. Now, let me tell you, everything seems urgent, okay? When you're anxious, everything seems like it needs to be done yesterday and you need the problem solved. And if you don't, then you're just kind of like stewing in that, right? I find that like when I'm in the height of anxiety, I have what I call, and I don't know even know if it's a thing or maybe I heard it somewhere, but I call it like time anxiety. My sister and I laugh about this often because we're working on her because she's definitely got time anxiety, but it's a thing, right? Where you're just like, oh my gosh, like if you know something has to happen later in the day, then your whole brain is wrapped around making sure that like everything is done before that thing, right? So you can kind of get a little bit in the weeds with distraction. Now, I'll say things that I've realized that make it worse. Caffeine, coffee, caffeine, energy drinks, pre-workout, all those things, right? Now, that can be something that is managed. That can be something that's controlled. So we're going to talk about that too. And like sort of what I have as far as like my boundaries with myself around that stuff. Cause I don't call them rules. I just set little boundaries with myself and have to get really clear on if I'm going to break a boundary, it doesn't make sense. And sometimes it does. And most of the time it doesn't. I'm just going to be real. Okay. Now, other times anxiety shows up like tossing and turning in bed, right? You lay down, guess what? All of a sudden your brain gets flooded with all the things that you were like avoiding all day because maybe that's what you do is you just stay busy because you don't want to think about things that give you anxiety. And then when you get in bed, guess what you think about? The things that give you anxiety because you weren't thinking about them or handling that anxiety through the day. Now, I will also say, this is something that to be aware of. Do certain people that you interact with heighten your anxiety or your overwhelm because of the interaction with them, right? I know for myself, and I'm going to share a story with you on a little bit of an example. My father, I love him dearly. He's in his 70s and he does not understand my affinity for health and fitness, not in the slightest, okay? My stepmom, she really tries. She's a heart patient. You know, I've been in and out of some situations with her, just trying to make sure she stays healthy and really stress the importance to her about her physical health. And she really listens and she's very eager, but my dad is of no help to really be of a support system. I love him dearly, but he's not, and he won't deny it. Okay. He'll admit it. He oftentimes gets frustrated with her because she has a practice every day where she gets up, she goes to the gym, her and my aunt will meet, they'll go do their workout, and then they come home, right? Like we gave her a program. My sister or my daughter and I go back and forth with her. If she has an opportunity to work out with me, she seizes it and I will train her and I will show her what she needs to work on so she can grow old gracefully, right? My dad could care less. My dad's just like, I don't fucking give a shit about that shit. Just give me my cigarette, give me my Pepsi, and give me my sleeve of Oreos, okay? He's probably going to live to 100, but nonetheless, he's not particularly fond of it. I'm coming out for my birthday to California, and my birthday is June 18th, and this will probably come out afterwards, so I'll fill you in on how it all went. But the most recent source of anxiety, right? Because I was talking about certain people heighten it. One thing is already ruminating on conversations that you think are going to happen, but you're not even there yet, right? So this is one thing that I am working through right now, just so you know. Just so you know, like I'm in the weeds and this is stuff that I'm like, it's a muscle. It is a muscle that you have to train, and the better you get, the more peace it gives you, and then you're addicted to training the muscle, okay? So I know I'm only going to have one day to really be in California because of the sequence of events that's happening. And then I'm going to be back in Vegas in like 4 days. Now, I have told my children that they're like, what do you want to do for your birthday? Right now, the typical, if we were in town, it'd be like, we'll go to lunch or dinner or something like that. And I said, no, I want to work out with my kids for my birthday. All of my kids, I've instilled the value of health in them. They all love training. My youngest and my middle, you guys know them. They're oftentimes on my social media. My oldest is a little more on the quiet side, not really too thrilled about his public life, being out there. He's not keen on social media. So I respect that. But he also, too, very important part of his life. The only thing I want to do on my birthday is work out with my children because we've done it before. It's so much fun. We love it. We have a good time. We razz each other. We support each other. We cheer each other on. Like, it's love. It's pure for me. And I love that. My parents caught wind that I'm coming down. It's not that I was hiding it. I was just like, I'm not going to be able to head into my hometown. My kids are actually going to come to where I'm at, which is a little more north, and it's a bit of a drive. And they drive, they're going to come out. We'll probably have lunch after and all that fun stuff. And Jack owns a gym and we're going to train in his gym and he'll be there. And it just sounds like a fantastic day to me. So my stepmom's been trying to reach me. She caught wind that I'm coming into town and they want to see me. They think I'm coming out to where they're at and I'm not. Now, the people pleasing part of me wants to be like, okay, well, maybe I'll just go ahead and drive out into town and just be able to see my parents and we'll skip the whole gym idea, right? But that's not really what I want to do. And so I love my parents. I respect them. I know that they're aging and all that. And they drive, right? Like my dad will drive to the end of the earth to go watch a fucking Portuguese bullfight. But my point being is anticipating that conversation and knowing typically what my father's response is like, oh my God, you want to work out on your birthday? What's wrong with you? Are you sick in the head? Like, well, what am I supposed to do? Like he gets all like, you guys want to do that because I know my stepmom will want to do it with us and that would be magical. Will be even more magical is if my dad joined us, but that's never going to happen. So I don't even expect that. But the point here is that I'm getting into that, like the people pleasing and like, okay, this is what I should do. But then that's causing mental unrest. It's causing anxiety. It's changing how I'm showing up. And like, I'm worried about it. And I'm already thinking about like, I'm going to disappoint them and like trying to figure this all out. It's maddening. It's maddening. So what I've decided is this is what I would like to do for my birthday. I understand if that's not something you're interested in. So if you don't want to partake or you don't want to allow my stepmom, because this is kind of, let's be real, he's going to be like, yeah, go ahead or whatever. She usually gets what she wants anyways, but she can work out with you guys. I'll amuse myself here in the gym. My dad he just likes to tinker around. Maybe he just like walk around and talk to the other people that are in there. Or they can meet up with us after we're done working out and we can have lunch, right? Like there's a solution. This is what feels good to me and is going to keep me vibrating at my best energy so I can show up authentically myself and be happy and in that environment with my parents, right? My dad can manage his own frustration with things. That's not my business. That's his business. That's his problem. So I think really stepping into that and being okay with that takes some work because clearly it's not like by default by me. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to do what the hell I want on my birthday. No, I still am torn, right? Like it still comes up. Now, I came to a realization not that all too long ago, probably the last 6 months, where I've really gotten into paying attention more to my thoughts, and meditation has been a huge piece of that. And a lot of that was due to the fact that my daughter and I talk every day on this fun little app called Marco Polo. If you're not on it with your kids, I'm going to say it again, do it. The other day was so joyful. I was able to communicate with all 3 of my kids on Marco Polo, and I got to talk to my granddaughters that day on FaceTime, and we had a fashion show. If you follow me on Instagram, you saw my little thing. It was so much fun on Zoom. But nonetheless, it's a great tool. But she would say to me, like, Mom, you're spiraling. Mom, you're spiraling. And for me, I was like, when my daughter is telling me something that I find unpleasant about myself, like when she's reflecting that back to me, I need to do something about it, right? Like quit, like be action, put some action to it. And so it's coming faster, right? Like those decisions and things and like funks and stuff come a lot faster to get out of. But once that comes up, I'm like, oh, she's right. Right? Like, okay, great. Let's work on that. And I talked to my sister and I said like, hey, do you want to do meditation with me? I just need like an accountability partner. We don't need to meditate at the same time, but I want to be held accountable to like really trying to crack the code here because I feel like this is going to be super helpful. And it was, right? So one of the things I had realized is when I was in the height of this, I hadn't journaled for 6 months. And for me, that's a really long stretch of time, right? And a lot of times, journaling for me is a tool. I don't do it every day, but I do it probably 3 times a week. It's getting more frequent now because there's things that I don't want to forget, like great things that are happening in my day. Because when you open up your awareness to being present and really being intentional about how you feel, you start to notice more wonderful things that are happening around you. Like it's like naturally happening, manifesting or whatever. Maybe it's just a perspective change. And I don't want to forget that. So I'm like wanting to journal more, right? It's like, ooh, I want to write this down. Like I had this great conversation with my sister today on Marco Polo. Like she's crying, I'm crying, like all this great stuff. And I'm like, this is a moment I don't want to forget. I'm journaling, right? So it's a tool. But when I open up my journal, I'm like, fuck, I have not sat down for 6 months. And I know why. I was afraid because I really knew the answer. I was burnt out, overwhelmed, anxiety. Those all three, they live very closely in the same household, just in different rooms, right, of your brain. And I was like, okay, this is what we're doing here. We're getting real deep and knowing that I was avoiding some realities and some things. And so when you are overwhelmed, this is really the art of it, right? Is where are you not taking action? Now, I'm going to tell you what did not work and also actually masks the issue is avoiding it, right? Like avoiding your anxiety because it doesn't just go away. You actually have to mentally work on that, right? It's like anything. It's like flossing your teeth, brushing your teeth, working out and taking care of your health, right? Like your mental space needs to be something that you're curating and making sure that you are very aware of what is happening in there. And that is something that I've learned over the years, right? And I've gotten a lot better at it. And it's taken, one of the tools has been therapy and working with really individual therapists in different realms and seeking out therapists that had skills in certain genres of areas that I wanted to work on, right? Because when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. I firmly believe that, okay? And so every time I've hired a new therapist, for whatever reason, right? Like I tend to work with therapists in 6 month to 1 year sprints of things and get really great tools from them. And I think part of it is really coming down to doing that work, right? A lot of us avoid that. Like, I don't need therapy. Well, are you overwhelmed? Are you anxious? Are you depressed? Are you unhappy in a current situation and yet you just keep suffering through it? Like, let's find somebody who is skilled with the tools to help you handle that so you can have mental peace, right? That's what we're really all after. And so some other ways that this showed up for me is overworking, right? Like, okay, I'm just going to work more. And there are other ways that it shows up for people too. And it's more of the things that you can classically think of, like the distractions, TV, social media, numbing out, doom scrolling, those kinds of things. And oftentimes it comes up in anxious eating behaviors, right? I see it across the board with clients everywhere. So there's a lot of ways that it shows up. Now, this is where I want you to think a little bit more around how the things I'm going to share with you next can apply for you in sort of starting to get to the bottom of some of your overwhelm and possibly burnout or anxiousness, and try it on, right? Just try it on. Like I've said before, like a jacket. If you hate it and it just makes you like not feel like you're going to get any closer to mental peace, then great. You can always go back to your old way of thinking and it's always available to you, right? You know what that default is. We all have it. And then it's really whether or not you want to change that default conversation that goes on in your brain. All right. So here is one of my go-to anxiety, I want to say management tools, is starting with an energy audit And the way that I do this is you have to just sit with yourself. There's no one else. You have to sit with yourself. And as scary as that is, it's okay. You're safe. You are there for yourself, right? Just remind yourself of that. And the first step for me is really sitting down bullet point style and evaluating and listing all sources of my anxiety, right? Get it all on there. All of the fucking shit that swims around in your brain that causes you to be overwhelmed, that causes you to stress and worry and feel anxious, put it all on a page. Put it all there. Those people, those things, they need to live somewhere because right now they're living in your brain, and your brain needs to make meaning of things. And so it's going to grab onto something at any given time, depending on your environment, and it's going to just fucking mentally masturbate on that shit. And so we need to park it on a piece of paper, okay? Then going through and auditing any relationships that contribute to feeling anxious or drained or overwhelmed. What are those relationships? Who are they? Write them down, right? And within that, ask yourself how or if you want to show up in that relationship. How do you want to show up in that relationship if mental peace is your goal? If getting rid of overwhelm, getting rid of anxiety, getting rid of feeling drained, how does that work with this relationship, right? How are you going to show up? Maybe it's less interaction. Maybe it's a conversation that needs to be had. Maybe it's a boundary that needs to be set. Then I want you to also put a list of anything and everything you do in a day, a time audit, an energy audit, and write everything down from the moment you blink your eyes open. Who are you responsible for? What are you responsible for? Your job, everything. So you can understand and give yourself a sigh of relief that it makes sense as to why you're overwhelmed or anxious, because all of this lives inside your body. If it's in your mind, if it's in your chest, if it's in your heart, if it's in your gut, it lives in your body. Okay. What does that usually do? Raises your cortisol. What is cortisol known for in excess? Causing inflammation. Where does disease stem from? Inflammation, right? So a lot of all cause mortality is that we are neglecting things in our day-to-day that are contributing to us getting sick. And so really, I was a prime example of that last year, right? You guys have heard it enough already since the podcast got a rebrand and talking just about my burnout and everything there and how just I'm refusing to do that to myself anymore, right? So once you go through all these things, you have this exhaustive list. I want you to look at it, and I want you to look at things from a tactical perspective and think about, what can I delegate that is overwhelming for me here, right? Like, what is all the mental load that you carry throughout the day that like people just don't see, right? Like the grocery shopping, the cooking, the cleaning, the running kids around, whatever it is, right? And then if there's anything that you're in charge of in your relationship, right? Whatever the duties are that are split there. Is there an equal divide of labor? Maybe there's a conversation that needs to happen. And what can you delete off your list? What are the obligations, the people, the relationships, the things? What can you get rid of? What can be done? Like, I don't need to stress about this. This is stupid. I can just control, alt, delete that shit. Because what I want you to get really clear on is, how do you want to feel most of your day, right? Listen, I'm not living in a pipe dream, okay? This is not some fantasy world. I'm not saying for you to walk around and be in this euphoric state of joy all the time. Although if you can, that'd be freaking awesome. But what is your default mood setting attitude most of the day? Is it irritable? Is it anxious? Is it overwhelmed? Is it looking at the next thing? Is it not being in your body? Is it being in your head and not being present? That's how I was living my life, you guys, most of last year. It's not fun. I totally get it. My default feeling, I want to feel joy. I want to feel peace. I want my work to feel like play. I want my self-rejuvenating activities to feel like they are filling up my cup so I can show up better for the people in my life, the people I love, my listeners, my clients, everything. Because a depleted me is not a good me, okay? We all know that feeling. We all know. And anxiety, overwhelm, all of those things will zap your energy for you to not have the resource to want to do all the things that you need to do, right? It's kind of like this, what comes first, the chicken or the egg? Now, there's got to be a feeling for me that needs to replace that anxious feeling. And I need to know like where to point the GPS, right? Like my mentor uses this reference. I'm probably going to butcher it, but she says, when you get in a plane and you're headed to a destination, the pilot puts in the coordinates, the plane is up in the air, it's doing its thing, it's flying to get you there. If they're off by like just two points in that direction, right, where they're headed, you're going to end up somewhere totally fucking different, right? Just 2 small points. So when you are looking at how your life and how your state of being mentally is having you feel throughout the day, you need to give your brain a new direction on where to go, right? Let's move this over here. Let's point here. How can we point towards that direction? And what do we need to do, or how do we need to think in order to have that feeling right now? Right now, not later when you have all of these overwhelming things figured out, but like right now, today, what can that look like? Right? Maybe it's taking a breath. Maybe it's going for a walk. Maybe it's sitting with a meditation. Maybe you need to go and fucking sit with a book without your electronics nearby and get back to like what fills up your heart and soul and something you enjoy. Maybe you need to paint. Maybe you need to take a fucking nap. Maybe you need to work out less, right? There's a lot of things that can create space that you don't need to fill with other shit. You just need to be, right? Like, one thing that I know is difficult for a lot of women, especially high functioning women, is resting. There's like this guilt with rest, and I know that all too well. And then I realized rest is doing something. Resting is doing something. It's doing something actually quite extraordinary if you rest properly, right? I don't consider like true restorative rest just like laying on the couch and binge watching some dumb reality show, right? Like there are some that I feel like are worth it for sure, and I've learned some fun things from, but like living in other people's just drama and all that or whatever, or sitting there and listening to the news and letting that suck the life out of you, right? Like that's not restorative rest. Like restorative rest, you know what that is for you, right? So this exercise, this is a little catch-22 because what I'm asking you to do can actually cause anxiety, right? Like you sitting down thinking about all the things is like overwhelming, can have anxiety. So I encourage you, if you've already started sort of thinking about these things as I'm mentioning them to you, and you're just like afraid to just kind of run down the rabbit hole, like find time to do it when you're in a space to just be able to pour into yourself, right? And just kind of release it all and let it be what it is. And even if you do nothing with it, it lives somewhere and it just kind of has been off your chest. And then what I want you to do is I want you to come back, because this is where I'm going to stop this episode. And when you return to episode number 2, we're going to talk about the physical tools. Okay. Some things that I'm doing in terms of resetting my programming around exercising, right? This is a difficult one for me because you guys, I've been a bodybuilder and I've been on stage 16 times, right? So deprogramming that sort of hustle fitness culture and sharing with you what that looks like and sort of the things that I'm doing to inspire you to really look at your life and start to do those things. I'm going to talk about some things environmentally that I do intentionally to kind of curate a life that's less stressful. More of the mental tools and things that I use, which I've already talked about a little bit here, and also just give you some really great prompts at the end of all of this so you can really start to be in charge of your life and your mood and how you show up and your vibe and how you walk through the door and how you move through your life, and being more in the driver's seat and less as a backseat driver, and really step up and live your best life. Okay. So if you enjoyed this episode and you want more of this kind of good, if you haven't already listened to the masterclass that we did, I believe it was last month. I'm not sure when this episode's going to air, but basically, it was a great time. The girls really started to kind of crack open and plant the seeds of some thoughts that they want to start grooming, right? Some good energy, good vibes, and working through some of what we're talking about today. Now, we curated it so you can have access to it even though the masterclass has come and gone, because I also created a podcast for it. So if you want those goodies plus the workbook that has over 10 journaling prompts that I curated with my bestie who also joined me in this masterclass. It's called From Burnout to Boss Bitch. Almost Dr. Crystal, she is a therapist and been working with women for 20 years. So we created this beautiful workbook for you to actually sit with yourself and come home to who you are, right? Like, let's figure that out. So with her mental health experience, my health and fitness, and bringing it together, and also just more of like a life coaching feel. So you are living your best life, not just your best fitness life. You'll really enjoy that masterclass. So check out the description or the show notes. There will be a link there. And once you sign up for that, we will send you an email with the replay of the masterclass so you can watch that on YouTube. You'll also have the audio. So if you prefer this medium, then you can have it in your ears, and then the workbook. And you'll be on my email list. And following that masterclass, I'm also going to share with you some of our live coaching calls that happen within our one-on-one coaching program, and just really show you sort of fitness coaching and health coaching done really differently. And I think you'll really enjoy it. So, all right, you guys, come back for part 2, and I'm in it with you. Let's do it together.